Well, it's been an exciting offseason for ASU basketball fans. It started back in April with the signing of five-star prospect Josh Christopher. Then following that, the news of senior guard Alonzo Verge withdrawing his name from the NBA draft, coming back to Tempe for his final year. And we just had duplicate news, if you will, another senior guard coming back to Tempe for his final year, and that is obviously Remy Martin. The news came down Sunday afternoon, and I thought no better person to talk about this with is a former Sun Devil point guard himself and somebody who also covers Remy Martin on a regular basis during the season, Sun Devil Network color analyst Kyle Dodd. Kyle, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. After the news yesterday, I can't complain. So I think we all need some good news every once in a while during this time. So it was good to see Remy coming back, and the reaction to most fans on social media and my kids and everybody. It was awesome to see how excited people were for Remy to come back.
Let me just ask her right off the bat, Kyle, were you surprised by that news of Remy coming back, and were you surprised that he also waited literally just a day before the deadline when he had to declare one way or another whether he's coming back or remaining in the NBA draft?
I'm not surprised that he waited that long because I think he was going to do his due diligence and get all the input and all the information he could gather and make the best decision. So I'm not surprised that he waited. Am I surprised that he came back? Not really either. I think, I don't know, for whatever reason, I always felt like he was coming back. I just thought, not only does, there might be some unfinished business and then the excitement about the possibilities this year, I thought that would help. But I just thought that, the feedback he would get, not that Remy's not an NBA player by any means, and he doesn't have the talent, but I just thought that he would get feedback that would kind of make him lean towards coming back. And it worked out for the Sun Devils, and I think hopefully if we play some games, it'll be good for Remy, and we could, he could showcase his stuff one more year. And I expect nothing but a great senior year from Remy, and I think he'll have a great opportunity to enter the NBA next year.
When you talk about showcasing those skills, last year was Remy Martin's best season scoring. Led the Sun Devils with over 19 points a game average, second in the conference overall. But his assist number actually went down. So I thought that if the NBA scouts were looking for a point guard that distributes the ball really well, maybe last season wasn't a clear representation of what Remy Martin can really do in that aspect. Maybe there were a lot of games that Remy Martin tried to do a little too much. As somebody that saw him each and every game during his junior campaign, do you also think that maybe the distribution aspect of Remy Martin, something that actually we saw perform at a higher level, maybe his freshman and sophomore year, maybe took a little of a dip his junior year?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a different team, different situation for Remy. I think he had to feel his way out a little bit, learn to trust some of the new guys. And, you got a guy like Verge who comes in and needs the basketball to be successful as well. And I think both of those guys, they were just kind of feeling each other out and get some young guys to incorporate. And we saw once they did, and they did start trusting each other, towards the end of the year, Remy, his distribution was much better. He trusted his teammates. He pitched the ball ahead. Verge found ways to score without having to pound the ball, 15, 20 times. And we saw how it clicked late in the season. And that's, I think, when they went on the tear is when Verge and Remy really started to trust each other. And I think they really started to enjoy playing with each other. And so I think that was part of maybe, Remy's dip in the assist numbers. But with the talent surrounding him this year, I don't think he's going to have any – you get 3 assists by stepping on the floor with the guys that you got on the wings coming in.
Yeah, but let's talk about that talent. And one player that I didn't mention just because his signing did not happen during the offseason, but somebody who I think may surprise some people as much as you can talk about a 5-star prospect surprising people, that is Marcus Bagley. So as you mentioned, with all the talent that Remy Martin's going to have around him, Marcus Bagley, Josh Christopher, Alonzo Verge, how challenging do you think it will be for a guy like Remy, who was never shy shooting the basketball, never shy being the guy down the stretch in the clutch, trying to make a game-winning basket, and obviously doing so on a few occasions. How challenging you think it'll be for Remy to balance all of that? Because, like I said, a lot of weapons can definitely showcase himself as an excellent distributor of the ball. But let's face it, Remy's the guy that likes to be aggressive on offense, also taking shots. How's that dynamic, you think, going to work?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, and I think Remy's going to have to get used to that. But ultimately, we know one thing about Remy Martin, and that's that the guy will run through a wall. He'll do anything to win basketball games, and maybe that's different this year. Maybe that's distributing more. Maybe his freshman year, his role was to come off the bench and be the energy guy, and we saw how well he succeeded in that role. So I think Remy can wear a number of different hats, and I think this year he's not going to have to shoulder so much of the scoring load, and I know Remy's going to have moments, his big moments, because that's what clutch players do, and he's going to have the ball in his hands down the stretch, but he's going to have options, and you don't always have to go Remy. I think in the last year you saw late in games who was going to get the ball. You knew the ball was going to be in Remy's hands, and you knew Remy was going to take the shot, and it worked out a lot of the time. So this year I think he'll have to understand that I got some guys that can help me. I don't have to put everybody on my back and carry the load.
I'm sure when Remy was thinking about staying in the NBA draft, not that he had any apprehension of coming back to ASU. Obviously, he's one of the most beloved players ever to set foot in Tempe, I think, in any sport, not just basketball. Obviously, like we both said, a lot of weapons at his disposal. But I know that maybe some of the skeptical fans out there are just wondering how it's really all going to come together. I mean, you're putting a lot of the onus on this ASU team on two true freshmen, Marcus Bagley and Josh Christopher. Then you have Alonzo Verge that right now is going to be in a total different role than he was last year. Now, granted, Alonzo Verge playing 25, 30 minutes a game, especially down the stretch, wasn't really an anomaly by any means, but now being the de facto starter each and every night, I mean, that's still somewhat of an adjustment. So do you think that the chemistry issue may be to some extent overblown because you have now a senior point guard that's been there, done that, that's really gonna run the show? Or do you think that going into the 2021 season, even with the return of Remy Martin, it might take a little time for all the very talented pieces to click together?
Yeah, I think anytime you bring a new group of guys together and try to mesh them, it's a little bit of an adjustment. But good players want to play with good players, and great players want to play with great players. And I think ultimately we've seen what Coach Hurley's done. I think the underrated part of Bobby's tenure here has been his rotations and how he's maneuvered that. And in the beginning of the time when he was here, he had to figure it out because he only had 7 dudes, that he could go with, and he had to find ways to win games. And there was times when we had Cody Justice at the 4 or situations that he always found a way. And he's going to have a really, really good problem to have this year. He's going to have a bunch of good players that are going to rotate and get in, and I think it's going to be one of those situations where a lot of guys are going to play a lot of minutes, and the guys you might be able to ride a hot hand, and who knows who it's going to be. It could be a different guy every night. And I think if the team and the kids come together and understand that ultimately, if we put aside what we're trying to accomplish, individually, and we know what we're trying to accomplish as a team and what we can with our talent level, and you just put aside your personal agenda, I think they're going to be as good as anybody in the country, in my opinion. I think, a lot of things got to come together, but they have some ridiculous pieces that they can use, and I think they can play a number of different ways.
I mean, in fairness, there really hasn't been no peaches and cream for the Arizona State basketball team in the offseason because the departure of Romello White, they're starting forward, another player that was going to be a senior this year, definitely does hurt ASU to some extent. And not that ASU fans don't have a reason to be excited, like you said, for this upcoming year with the news of Remy Martin coming back. But I think if Romello White was still on this team, I think that level of excitement might really be, just out of this world. Do you think that Remy Martin's return is a 50-50 negation of the bad news that ASU received about Romello White a few months ago? Or do you think that maybe Remy Martin coming back might even exceed any adverse effect that Romello White's departure has caused?
Yeah, I mean, and nothing. I'm not taking away anything from Melo because I loved Melo. I think he was a great Sun Devil. It was a shock to me that he wasn't coming back. But I think he made a decision for himself personally, and I think that's he's going to be successful at Ole Miss. But that being said, I think having Remy back is probably bigger, and him, keeping him in the mix is bigger than losing Melo. I think, you've got guys that are kind of waiting to break out of their shell. I thought Jalen Graham made some really nice strides last year. I thought Tay, after some injuries, came on late, and Tay really developed. Tay was always good when he was making shots, and he really helped the Sun Devils over the last couple of years when he was making shots. Last year, especially in that stretch where they won all those games in a row, I thought Tay found other ways to contribute. He really went after the glass. He defended as good as anybody in the post, and I think Tay's talent level is, his ceiling is off the charts as well. So maybe just the departure of Melo allows those guys to blossom, and then allows some of the young guys to get going. And I'll tell you this, I mean, Melo was a guy that he was going to go down and get you buckets on the block. And with the guys that you have on the wings right now, maybe that would be clogging things up a little bit. Now you could play things wide open, 5 out, and any guy on the floor can get it and get to the rim at any point.
We talk about the leadership aspect. I mean, we hear it all the time that the point guard in basketball is really an extension of the coach of the coach on the floor. As somebody who played that position, I'm sure you can really relate to that very specific role that a point guard does play. Is there any way to overstate just really from a leadership standpoint, from an organizational standpoint, when you have not only a very talented point guard but a senior point guard running a show for Arizona State? Is there any way to really overstate how much better that makes the team just by that specific virtue? No,
it's huge. I mean, leadership is huge in any college basketball team or any college sports team. And I think something about being a senior. Remy's been the leader the last couple of years, but something about being a senior is I don't know, it just does something to you. You have it's your last go around. It's your last chance. It's your last first practice of the year. It's your last season opener of the year. It's your last Pac-12 tournament. All those things, and especially having 2 talented young guys and some other young players coming in. Remy can I don't think he's going to need to show them how to play basketball by any means or lead them, in that sense, but maybe just showing them, hey, this is how life is in the Pac-12, or, and that's kind of what I've seen Remy really develop, over the years, and be the extension of coach. And, sometimes it's I don't care how good you are, it's an adjustment as a freshman to come into college basketball, and you might not be getting calls one night. You might not, your shot might not be falling, but Remy, is a guy that can go put his hand on, someone's jersey and be like, hey, you're all right, or this is how it is, in the Pac-12, and you're going to be fine. And just to have that voice where it doesn't always have to come from coach, I think is huge. And I think Remy's going to have a huge year, leading the young guys.
Do you think overall Bobby Hurley really has to deal with the high level of expectations that's really going to be placed on this team coming into the 2021 season, where we saw a pundit like John Rothstein has Arizona State now number 14 in this preseason? I think a lot of other pundits have Arizona State in the top 25 or maybe just outside of that group. When you talk about the challenges that Bobby Hurley has to face, maybe besides the like I mentioned earlier, the chemistry challenge, needing to rely so much on true freshmen, making sure this whole thing can go together. Do you think that not that Bobby Hurley's expectation level of the team and just out of the media hasn't really increased, I think, year by year, but again, when you talk about 2021 with all the pieces returning and the new pieces coming in, I got to think that from a coach's standpoint, this is going to be really quite a challenge for Bobby Hurley in terms of all the buzz that he's going to be receiving, and again, needing to manage for this coming year. What's your take on that specific issue?
I mean, I think for most coaches, expectations are tough to deal with. I think for Coach Hurley, I think he welcomes it. I think this is exactly where he wanted to be, in building this program. And how lucky are we to have a program that, has expectations? I mean, we had some years where we had some expectations, but it was to win a couple games in the Pac-12, and that wasn't. So, I mean, I think expectations to me are always more for the fans and maybe, even guys like us a little bit, but I think the fans got to understand, and, there are going to be some growing pains, and we're not going to go undefeated, at least I don't think so, but there's going to be games that you struggle and someone comes up and gets you. And sometimes when you have high expectations, it's the end of the world when you lose to a team you shouldn't or whatever. So I think there's going to be some ups and downs, but like I said, when you're expected to be, a top 20 program, and I mean, how many times could we say that as long as we've been around ASU, just we've seen what it's been like the last couple of years, and hopefully I pray every day that the crowd, will be there to enjoy it, because it's been amazing to see the growth and see the bank rocking every night. And so I think it's awesome. It's really exciting for me as a former player. And then, now as a color analyst, I think it's all I could ask for in a coach and in a program and guys and kids that do it the right way and play hard and compete. And, they're easy to root for. Coach Hurley's easy to pull for. And I think he's going to be as fiery as ever with all the weapons he has. So.
Yeah. Well, like you said, a lot of excitement, a lot of expectations. Maybe expectations are really been unprecedented when it comes to this basketball program. And as you mentioned earlier, Kyle, let's hope there's going to be really a 2020-21 season to really talk about and really enjoy in a few months from now. So, Kyle, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you and your family are staying safe and healthy. And next time we'll talk, like I said, hopefully it's going to be a true season preview, knowing that the Sun Devils are about to tip it off in a few weeks.
Yeah, I like I said, I'm hoping that we're all there having some fun. So we got the weapons, we got the pieces, and it could be an amazing year if we play. So go Devils, man! Good to see you, Hod.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Kyle. Take care.